Hello and welcome to Socially Served. I'm your host, Frank Sroka, and we're here at Abilities Expo. Where else would we be? And I'm here with Mark and Juan for Digitally Accessible, and we're going to talk about accessibility. It's such a topic that we all need to know a little bit more about. And I wanted to talk to both of you about how did you start this company? How did you envision this company?
Well, Frank, thank you so much for having us. And basically, we both, Mark and I, we've been in the industry for a while, but we got together a few years ago. And knowing how difficult it is for organizations to keep their accessibility needs or comply with the legislation, we decided to create something together.
Yeah, definitely. One of the big things with Juan and myself is the simplicity and lack thereof of trying to make sure that people's sites, their websites, their digital properties are accessible to everyone. And a lot of times it's a complex topic that not a lot of people have that expertise, and we wanted to bring that to more people and do it in a holistic way that was slightly different than what's out there on this market.
So in your approach of this holistic way that you're approaching this topic of accessibility, it's an education piece obviously for businesses so that they can do the business more effectively, engage more with the disability or ability community. And so how do you go about doing that?
So you're correct. It's a lot of it what we do is education. When our clients are educated, they can make informed decisions. So we do take the time to let them know what accessibility is for them, for their businesses, and what are some of those low-hanging fruits that they can start taking advantage of or making accessible.
What's interesting, Frank, is that the intent of a lot of the various companies out there is there. They want to do it. Their execution and the way they actually implement those changes, that's where they need the help. And that's where we want to spend the time educating. Because sometimes the more time we spend teaching them how to make the proper changes and not to make too many changes, but to implement the right actions, that's how we really help the community, because it's a more successful way of making the site successful.
So when you're saying accessibility and helping out businesses, both large and small, what are you looking at? Is it document accessibility? Is it website accessibility? All the above? Like, where do you start? There's so much.
I'm glad you asked. So we have, whenever possible, we want to make sure people understand. So we want to provide equal access to information in the digital world. That is going to be websites, mobile app, PDFs, Word documents, or PowerPoints. So what we do is we guide our clients how to understand what is specifically they comply with and what they need to do to make sure that the digital materials are accessible. And that could be maybe working in a project early on within the development cycle, or just helping with the remediation efforts.
Definitely. When talking about low-hanging fruit, I like the way you use that term. It is, where do we enter? Where do we start? Where do we begin? And a lot of times with the PDFs, the documents that are sitting there on their site, a lot of people are accessing it. That might be the first place to start as we assess the rest of their digital properties. But what's important is that they get started. A lot of times it can be overwhelming because there's so many different things that can be done and should be done that you get into this sort of analysis bolster and pause where you don't start the activity. You spend too much time doing that planning instead of actually doing the activity to make it accessible. So we want to make it easy for them. We want to work with them and get them started and then teach them how to do it themselves.
Because it's interesting, because a lot of businesses may be under the perception that they are accessible, right? Like their website, they may say, well, we are accessible. What's the problem, right? So what do you do? You do analysis of the site just so that you educate them on knowing what is accessible and what's not accessible?
Well, if I may mention something. When thinking about accessibility, the normal thing that people tend to fall back on is just the visual image, what they see, what they can perceive of their site by people who are sighted without an issue. However, people with the disability who's going and visiting their website, they're using technology that's helping them read the site, to access the site, to get that information. And how they interact with the site is different than perhaps how you and I would interact with it, different than how Juan would interact with it, and it's different all the way around. But on top of just the visual element, how the site itself is constructed, and people with other disabilities, such as cognitive disabilities, and the way the site is, information is placed on the site itself, that also can cause problems. So there's a lot of different elements that need to be looked at.
So do you think that the awareness now, sort of part of what you're also doing is servicing them with an awareness of how to enable them to become more accessible, because they might not be aware of that, right? So as you said, it's a step, it's a process. Like even understanding how documents, a Word document or a PDF, like you're saying, where you have that on your site, you're downloading this information, and a person who's reading, using a text-to-speech reader or some other device may not be able to find out about that information, which is so key.
Yeah,
right?
I can say one thing. A lot of times companies, they want to do the right thing,
Yes.
but they just don't know how to. And there's a lot of misinformation. And you can have tools like automated tools that are going to help you gauge how accessible a website or a document is. But the important thing to consider is that they only cover anywhere between 20 to 35% of accessibility issues. This is why it's important to educate people. And beyond that, they have to understand accessibility. It's not a silver bullet. They're going to have to do some work, and they should avoid tools like overlays.
And so when you're talking about overlays and tags and so forth, right? Those are things that they need to understand, right? Certainly people are navigating here. Is your site can you navigate through it? Yes, you may be able to, but somebody with a device may not be able to, right? And I think for businesses, they do, like you're saying, they do want to comply. They don't know how about going and doing it, so it's an education piece. But the reward is that you're engaging a huge audience that can be buying your products, or those that are involved with that audience that can be purchasing. So you're empowering that group. That's a huge revenue base that you never accessed before.
It's a huge revenue base. If you look just in Canada alone, when 1/4 of our country identifies having a disability, that is money being left on the table for these companies. But it's more important than that. It's a quarter of our population that's not able to engage with your information the way everyone else can, and that's a shame. So the reality is what we are doing, and what is actually good for those who we are correcting these issues for, it actually corrects it for everybody. So we have to also remember that the innovation for accessibility, disabled participants and people who are working with these companies and trying to get access to it, it actually helps and makes it more efficient for everyone.
Absolutely. So how do people find more information about your company? Start with the website, I guess.
Yeah,
and I hope it's accessible. Of course it's accessible.
Yeah, of course. So we have spent a lot of time ensuring that our website is accessible.
Yeah.
So you can go to Digita11yAccessible.io. The Digit is with A11Y. And you can always follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook.
Correct. And we hope that you come, and accessibility is something that should always be looked at. It's a moving target. Additional requirements are always coming to the forefront. We're always around to try to understand, educate companies of what's new, and always looking to push everyone forward.
Yes, and if I may, if you're watching this episode before May 19th, 2022, we're going to be doing a global accessibility awareness day event. It's a half-day event starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. And again, please visit our website and register for it.
The website,
Digita11yAccessible.io.
So you got to remember too, because you were saying it's digitally is spelled differently.
Yes, Mark, you want to...
Digitally, and it is A11Y in digitally. accessible.io.
So why is it 11 Y?
That's
The acronym.
that's a good story. Mark.
It's
Tell
actually a
us
great
the story, Mark.
It's a great story. We wanted to make sure we adopted the commonly known acronym for accessibility. So because there are 11 digits between the A and the Y in accessibility, we've adopted A11Y. So digitally accessible.
So the community are using the A11Y to simplify or to convey accessibility. So we wanted to use it.
And they can identify with that.
Correct.
And I just want to revisit your special event as well. So you want to mention that again?
Yeah, for sure.
Times?
So it's going to be May 19th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's a full day of, or half day of accessibility, where we're going to be engaging with different presenters from the industry to help organizations understand what accessibility means for them.
Great. That's great.
And it's a great day. It's a great day to promote global accessibility.
That's terrific. And it's an education piece for everyone too,
sure.
right? So, Mark and Juan, I'd like to thank you for joining us at the Abilities Expo for Socially Served. It's a pleasure talking to you both. You're so innovative and on it. Really appreciate that. And thank you, audience, for joining us on Socially Served at the Abilities Expo. We hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.